What's up, guys? My name is Ty Zen. Welcome to the cryptocurrency.market channel. This is a channel for cryptocurrency traders, investors, entrepreneurs. This is not a political channel. This is not a cryptocurrency tech channel, right? This is a channel to help people make more money in cryptocurrency trading and investing, okay? So in this video, guys, I want to talk about the 10 reasons why I became a $1 million trader and others around me failed, and the things that I did to ensure that I succeed, and then the things that I saw other traders do that caused them to fail miserably, okay? So I want to start back and I want to share these stories with you because it'll help you understand the path that someone goes on to become a $1 million trader, okay? And it's not just in crypto, it's in any market, okay? So I don't want you guys to think that this is only related to cryptocurrency trading only, okay? So that's why I didn't say cryptocurrency trader in the title of this video, okay? I'm going to start from the beginning when I first learned about cryptocurrency, okay? I first learned about cryptocurrency, the first time that I learned about trading in general, okay? I learned about trading in the mid-90s. I heard about it. I got exposed to it by some traders when I was in, many of you guys know that I grew up in the ghetto and I was in prison for drugs before. And in the mid-90s, while I was in prison, that was when I saw some guys, some white guys, talk about trading and investing, coffee, beans, wheat, corn, stuff that I actually knew what it was. It's a good thing they didn't talk about like trading stocks or anything like that, because at that time, that was just way beyond my head, because many of you guys know I grew up in the ghetto and I dropped out of high school, I dropped out of college. What is that sound? Is there gas?
No, Athena.
Athena, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so my kids love to make noises while I'm making videos because I think it's funny. Anyways, I was back to where I was at. Okay, so I saw these commodities traders, these guys learning about commodity trading. I spent some time throughout the 90s helping them chart line charts and graphs and everything. And they did not, I really didn't take it seriously back then. I just got exposed to it. And the reason why I did it, because I thought, well, these white guys were the only guys that I knew of that were making money while we were in prison. And I didn't know anybody else that was able to make money on the outside, from the outside while they were locked up on the inside. And that's why I pursued it. And I always growing up in the ghetto, all my black friends and Hispanic friends, none of them had money. So we always had this belief in the ghetto that only white people can make money. So here I am watching some white guys make money while the rest of us was all broke in prison, okay? So fast forward many years later, it wasn't until early 2005, okay? I met this guy, this entrepreneur from the Bahamas. His name was Joe Su, okay? And that's his real name too. So Joe Su from the Bahamas, he was a businessman, he was an investor, a trader, and things like that. And he exposed me to a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it helped me to realize that, in order for me to make money and I need to be educated. I need to learn the financial vocabulary, and I need to learn the vocabulary of making money, okay? So at that time, based on the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, I started to dive into learning about how to trade stocks and how to invest in stocks and how to invest in real estate, okay? Later on, I did not have enough money to trade, to invest in stocks. So I got released from prison in 2006, okay? In May of 2006 was when I got released from federal prison in the United States of America, okay? And what happened was when I got out, I never let go of my dream of being a trader, an investor, right? I wanted to always, because I spent all my life doing manual labor. I might not be the expert trader that I want to be, right? But I am definitely the expert when it comes to blue-collar labor, because I grew up working in the fruit and vegetable fields in the state of Oregon. I grew up working in the sweatshops in the state of Texas. I grew up working in the boat docks and the shipyards on commercial fishing boats in the state of Texas. So I am an expert when it comes to manual labor, okay? Because I've done that the majority of my life from sun up till sundown, okay? So the first thing that I did to become a $1 million trader was I got educated. I started reading books about trading, and during that time, in 2005, 2006, around that period of time, I pretty much read every book that I could imagine about trading, okay? That was the start, okay? Unfortunately, almost every one of those books, except for 2 books, were garbage. They were all written by traders who could not make $1 million, okay? They were all written by people who could talk trading, but they could not actually make $1 million from trading, okay? But at that time, since I was a beginner, I did not know that. I did not know that because whenever you talk to someone that's a trader, you really don't know if they are lying to you, they are telling the truth, if they're bullshitting you or not, okay? Even when you're watching this video right now, you see the title, you know, that I'm saying that, you know, the 10 things I did to become a $1 million trader, and you can even think that I'm full of shit myself, okay? And then there's nothing wrong with that, okay? And as I go through this video, I'll explain to you guys how to tell the truth and determine if someone is or isn't, okay? So the first thing that I did was to get educated, right? I started reading books, and even if they were bad books, the thing was I got educated, and it gave me the financial vocabulary. I started to know what a line chart was, what a bar chart was. I started to understand what a candlestick chart was. I started to understand what different indicators were, different oscillators, different momentum indicators, different price action, different chart patterns, different technical analysis ways of looking at it. Matter of fact, I read a book that was complete garbage. It's called Technical Analysis Explained. It's about the size of a Houston phone book or a Dallas phone book, and I read that several times, from the first page all the way to the end of the second page. And the math that was in there, you know, I try to follow along, do the math by hand and everything. And what I found out was that, you know, now that I'm a profitable trader, right, I found out that book is just complete garbage, it's a complete waste of time. And at that time, I didn't know it. I just, you know, since I was a high school dropout and a college dropout, I just figured, you know, the more that I read it, the more I can understand. Whoever wrote this thick-ass book must know what they're doing, because how else would they be able to write this whole book? And what I didn't know at that time was that just because someone's able to write a book that's, you know, this thick, you know, that's thicker than a Coke can, right, a soda pop can, just because they can write that doesn't mean they can actually do it in the real world. I had no concept of that back then, okay? So when I got out of prison in May of 2006, right, the first thing I did was I wanted to get back on my feet, you know, and I was working several jobs, you know, just miscellaneous jobs that paid minimum wage, you know, because I was a high school dropout, and because, you know, I was a drug felon, and because I had no college education, you know, I could not ask for a lot of high-paying jobs. You know, nobody was willing to give me that, right? So I just went and worked as a bouncer. I worked as a club promoter. I worked any jobs that, you know, most of them did not pay very much. They just paid like $1 or $2 above the minimum wage in the U.S. And at that time, I think the minimum, I got paid like 10, 11 bucks an hour in the U.S., okay? And that's not very much money. You know, if any girls hear you saying that you make 10, 12 bucks an hour, 11 bucks an hour, they look the other way. It doesn't matter how cute and sexy or how smart you think you are. They just go look for some other guys, okay? So I decided every dollar that I saved up at that time, I went and got educated. I went to different Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars, to workshops. Any workshop, any meetup in town, I just went and got educated in it, right? And most of the people that go to those seminars and those workshops, most of them were like beginners like myself. They did not know how to trade. They did not know how to invest in anything, or if they did, they wouldn't be there. That's just the reality of it, guys. Okay, one lesson you got to know is that when you go to these seminars, these workshops and everything, the people that are there, if they knew it, they wouldn't be there. You are not going to catch me at a free trading workshop, a free trading seminar, a $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 trading seminar. You will not catch me in any of those things. Okay, I'll be teaching it, but you ain't going to catch me being an attendant or an attendee in any one of those, because I already went past that level. Okay, I'm beyond that, so that's why I don't need to do that. Okay, the people that I learn from, it costs significantly more to do that. Okay, matter of fact, where our team is at today, it sucks where we're at, because there's not too many people at our level or above our level for us to learn from. So we have to experiment and do the research ourselves, and that costs a lot of time and money. But I'll get to that in a different video. So the first thing, right, is to get educated, right? Now, the second thing is this, okay, is that we have this running joke with me and Joe Su, the entrepreneur, the businessman from the Bahamas, right? When he first introduced me to trading, investing, to Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all that, right? We had a running joke between the two of us about no Uncle Neds, okay? Uncle Ned is, everyone has an Uncle Ned, okay? That when you talk about trading or investing in stocks and everything, everybody has an Uncle Ned. It's where Uncle Ned is just a term that we use to describe the person in your family or in your circle or in your network, where when you start talking about trading and investing in stocks, they all of a sudden they know something about it. They might be, a janitor, they might be a cook, they might be the shoe shine boy, they might be a taxi cab driver. They don't know a damn thing about trading or investing in stocks. If they did, they'd be making money and wouldn't be shining shoes or cleaning toilets, okay, or mopping floors. But they are, right? And nothing against any of those professions. Somebody has to do it, right? But you can't sit there and talk about trading and investing when you're out there mopping floors or you're out there shining shoes, okay? There's no way you're going to convince me that you know about trading or investing, because if you did, you'd be making money from it and you wouldn't be shining shoes or mopping floors, okay? So everyone has an Uncle Ned in their circle or in their family that the minute you open your mouth and say that, hey, I want to be involved in trading or investing in stocks, right, or in anything, in gold, precious metals, all of a sudden they're an expert. They're an expert, okay? And sometimes this Uncle Ned could be our dad, it could be our mom, it could be our uncle, it could be our brother or sister, and that's when it's even worse, because it's really hard for most people to say no and ignore their parents, okay? Especially if you're listening to this and you're from Asia, it's really, really hard, because there's this concept of, respect, and this concept of losing face and things like that, or, you can't outshine your parents. If you're in Asia, things like that, it really limits how you view trading and investing, okay? The other thing too, so that's number one is get educated. Number two was that I did not pay attention to the Uncle Neds. And Uncle Neds is basically a person is uneducated about what you are trying to learn. So in this particular instance, I was learning how to trade and invest my money, so I didn't want nobody, Uncle Neds telling me how to do it when they themselves don't know how to do it. Okay, so the third thing is this. When I got out of prison in May of 2006, right, I had absolutely no money. None. Okay, it's sad to say, but when I left prison, most of the people that were in there, they would have their families send them, clothes, they would send them shirts, they would send them shoes, and I would see guys, packing up to leave prison, and they had, new jeans, new tennis shoes, new clothes on, and everything. And the guys would flaunt and they would show off, like how fancy their outfits were when they were leaving prison, because as they were leaving, they were on the other side of the fence, and they would leave, and they would go in a direction that, everybody can see them, and things like that. so that, you know, they can show basically, you know, hey, I'm doing good. I got family that have money and stuff. Hold on. Okay, so that was very common, guys, for people to do that. As they were leaving prison, they would show off how much, you know, money their family had, and most of it was just all fake. You know, those guys were broke inside the prison, and then all of a sudden now they would have money. You know, it just, to me, it was all fake. Okay, I didn't believe none of that. Okay, for me, when I was leaving prison, my family did not have any money. You know, I had already been locked up for over 14 years in federal prison for drugs, and I did not have any money on the outside. I had no support. I got locked up when I was 18, so I had nobody that supported me from the outside, okay? So when I left, I mean, it's embarrassing, but when I left, I did not know if I was going to have any clothes to wear when I got outside the prison, okay, in 2006. So what I did was I put on extra T-shirts that I was in prison, and I put on extra boxers so that, you know, when I leave the prison, I knew that at least I had 2 or 3 days worth of clothes. I knew that I could wear the same T-shirt, you know, for a couple of days. And then, so if I did that, you know, if I wore, you know, 3 T-shirts with me and 3 boxers with me, I knew that I could at least have enough clothes to wear for at least a week when I got outside of the prison. So that's what I did, you know. I didn't, because I didn't have any. My family did not have enough money to send me to send me so that I can get out. Okay, to wear to get out. And matter of fact, I did not even have enough. When I was released from prison, one of the conditions was that I had to have somebody come pick me up from the prison, right, to come home. Otherwise, they would not release me. The prison authorities cannot just release a prisoner, out onto the streets. They had to have someone confirm that they can give me a ride to go to get back home. And if you guys follow my channel, one of the reasons why I'm helping out Casey on my channel, she's the intern on our channel, was because her uncle was the one who volunteered to come pick me up from prison. To bring me home, or else I would not be released from prison. And that's why I'm helping her out today. You know, back then she was just in middle school, like in the 5th or 6th grade or something like that back then, okay? And that's when I met her for the first time. If you guys are wondering how I know Casey, the independent filmmaker that's on our channel right now, that's how I know her, okay? Because her uncle was the one who volunteered to come and pick me up from the prison so that I can come home, okay? So when I came home, right, the first thing was my stepmom, my sister, my little brother, everybody around me, right, in the city of Austin told me that I was stupid, I was crazy, I was a nutcase for trying to learn how to trade stocks and invest in the stock market and everything. And I never let that hold me back. I never let that hold me back because I knew what I wanted to do, and I already read enough books to know that there are people out there who are million-dollar traders who have succeeded at trading and investing and have become millionaires off of this stuff. And I can do it too. Because one thing I learned when I was reading all the trading books was that was not something that I could, that was not something that was like impossible. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only a handful of people in the world that can become a heart surgeon that, you know, is qualified to remove someone's heart and put a new heart in. But, you know, when it comes to trading, I saw that based on what I've read in those books, I did not see anything that was so difficult that I could not do. Yes, I was a high school dropout. Yes, I was a college dropout. But you know what? That was not something that I was incapable of doing. Okay, so that I did not let my immediate family members, and those are the people that hold us back, in my opinion, the most. Most poor people, the people that hold them back the most, right, are usually their own parents or their own family members right around them. Okay, their uncles, their parents, their grandparents, their brothers, sisters. Okay, so if you want to become a $1 million trader, right, you really got to be careful and not let the people around you hold you back from doing what you need to do to succeed, okay? So at that time, the reason why my stepmom and my sister and everyone told me that I would never become a trader was because they said, hey, you just got out of prison, you got no money, you got nothing, you got no clothes, you got nothing, right? So because of that, how the hell are you going to become a trader and become successful at it when you're in your mid-30s already? You've been in prison since you were 18 all the way to now, and you're in your mid-30s, and now you want to talk about becoming a millionaire and shit. Like, you ain't got no high school degree, you ain't got no college degree, you ain't got shit, and you want to become $1 million trader? Are you stupid or what? Okay? And I would just nod my head, and at that time, I'll admit, it was really tough because I had nothing. I didn't even have $1 in my pocket, okay? And it was really tough, guys. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that that was easy, okay? It was really tough. I was going to work, I was getting 2 jobs, and then during the day, I would work at the clubs as a bouncer at night, and during the daytime, I would spend all my time on the computer, learning how to use the computer, learning how to use, because I'd never seen a computer before up until that time, okay? So I've seen it, but actually using it and typing on it and learning how to use it, that was not something that I had done because the entire time I was locked up, so I didn't know how to do it. So at that time, I remember everyone laughing around me. Even when I was working at work, I was working around, and all the other bouncers, when we were waiting at the end of the night to close up the club, I would pull out my trading books and I would read it while I was waiting for them to count the money and pay everyone, the tips and everything. I would sit there and I would read my stock trading books, right? Because I knew that working as a bouncer and as a club promoter was just a temporary stage in my life. I did not see myself doing that for the rest of my life. I made some mistakes when I was a teenager and got involved with the wrong people and got involved in drugs. I got punished for it, for 14 years in prison, and then now I get out. I did not see myself being a bouncer and working at a club for $10, $11 an hour for the rest of my life. I did not see that at all. To me, that was just that job was just a stepping stone for me to go to the next level, no matter what the next level was, okay? And so I had this brilliant idea one day. I noticed that all the homeless people in the club district in downtown Austin were asking for money, okay? I noticed that, hey, you know what? They were asking for money from all the thousands of people that went downtown to go clubbing downtown. And I would see that the same homeless people asking for money every night, and I noticed that they made a good living. And the reason why I know they made a good living was 2 reasons. One was because all the homeless people in Austin, Texas, in the city of Austin, they all had a dog. And their dogs were fat and happy. Like, they were not starving dogs like you see in some third world countries, right? These dogs were really fat and thick and juicy, right? And they were doing the same thing every day, right? And I also read in the Austin Statesman, which is the local newspaper there, and they said that the average homeless person was making over $8 an hour, okay? Basically, I was making I think $11 an hour at that time, and the homeless people were making about $8.37 or something like that. And I thought about this, and I was like, dude, these guys are homeless. They're hanging out with their best friend, their dog, and they're making just as much money, almost as much money as I am, working my butt off at the clubs, right? And I also noticed that in the city that I lived in, it had one of the best universities in America, and the name of that university is called the University of Texas in Austin, right? And I noticed that there was a lot of wealthy kids that attended that university, a lot of wealthy white kids that attended there. And I always grew up with the mentality that, the white people are the ones who know how to make the money, okay? There's a lot of ethnic groups that say, there's black people that make money too, and then there's, Asian people that make money too. I agree with that, but in America, there's more white people that make money than there are any other ethnic group, okay? Because they're the majority of the population in America, okay? Despite what you see on TV, despite what you hear on TV and stuff like that, the majority of America is white, okay? The majority of America is not black, is not Asian, is not Hispanic. The majority of America is white, okay? And so those were the majority of the people that made money. And so I noticed that since the homeless people were asking for money all around me, I asked myself, I wondered if I were to ask for money, if someone would give it to me. See, up until that point, I had already saved up like $2,500 since I got out, right? And I had invested all that $2,500 to go learn how to trade stocks. You know, I ran into some traders that knew how to trade, and I saw them trading, so I wanted to learn what they learned, so I invested that whole $2,500 into them so that they can teach me how to trade. And I had no money left. And after I learned how to trade, I said, man, I need some money to start a trading account. And at that time, I did not have any money. And I did the math. Hey, you know, I can save, you know, a couple $100s a month, but it would take me forever before, it would take me years before I'm able to save up like $10,000 to open up my first trading account, right? So I saw what the homeless people were doing, asking for money, and they got it. So I had this brilliant idea, and I said, you know what? I wonder what would happen if I stood there on the streets and asked every person that walked by me for some money so that I can start trading, right? And I said, the worst case scenario is that they just say no and I don't get it, right? And there was in addition to the homeless people making consistent money down there asking for it, and the newspaper, the local newspaper saying how much money they made, the third reason was that I also had a job picking up as a club bouncer and a club promoter there. My job was to go out into the streets and ask the hot girls to come into the club, okay? And I noticed that every 10 or 12 girls that I approached, and I would ask them, hey, would you guys like to come into our club, right? Almost 3 out of every 10 or 12 would come into the club. And I did that for like 3 years. So I know it was very consistent. Every day they would pay me to go out there and ask the girls, the hot girls, to come into the club, because if we bring hot girls into the club, all the guys would go in there and buy drinks and food and all that other stuff, okay? So it dawned on me that if I ask enough people for $10,000, eventually somebody around here has got to have so much money that $10,000 is nothing to them, okay? And I did that for months and months and months, and I asked hundreds of people. Now, during this time that I was standing there on the street corner asking everybody that walked past me for $10,000, right? All my coworkers said I was stupid, I was an idiot, and there is no freaking way that anybody would ever give me $10,000 to trade. Okay? So the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you about being $1 million trader, you guys already know that somebody eventually did give me $10,000, okay? And it was a guy named Andrew, okay? And I am forever, forever grateful to you, Andrew, the auctioneer that's listening to this, if you watch this video, okay? This young guy that was about 26 years old, his name was Andrew, and he was an auctioneer. He's like one of the best auctioneers on the planet, okay? He was an auctioneer, and he used to auction art on cruise ships and made a ton of money, okay, and on the cruise ship, and then he never got to spend the money. So at 26 years old, he had a bunch of money that he had saved up. He tried to invest it into the stock market. He failed miserably, right? And so when I met him and I asked him, hey, would you happen to have $10,000 from me to open up a stock trading account and start learning how to trade stocks? He thought I was a nutcase, but he asked me, do you know how to trade stocks? And I said, yes, I do, because I went to this school, I learned how to trade stocks, and these are the guys that's trading me. You can call them yourself and verify it. They're my mentors. They're the people that's teaching me how to trade stocks, right? So, and I also opened up the phone, and I told him, hey, you can search through all my contacts, and it was an old-ass Nokia phone, too, one of those push-button phones with just like one single a line screen on it, because I had no money at that time, so I had to use an old ass phone. At that time, I think everyone was using those Motorola flip phones and a bunch of fancy phones, but I had this old ass Nokia's all scratched up and everything, right? And so I said, you can look through these, and at that time that phone only held 300 contacts, and I had a few dozen contacts in there, and I said, you can look through this phone and search through anybody and ask them for a character reference about me. I'm not going to even tell them that you're calling. You can just call in them, to show you that I'm not bullshitting. I'm not here to scam you or nothing like that. I spent all my money and invested it into my education, and now I need some money to start my actual trading account. And he thought I was a nutcase at first, And then he thought about it, and then I gave him several other conditions. I told him, hey, whatever money we make, I'll split it in half. And if for some reason, I came up with a bunch of criteria so to make him feel safer about it, right? And so what he did was, after make a long story short, he did his due diligence. He contacted all the people that he needed to reference who I was and everything. And he ended up giving me $10,000 to open up my first stock trading account. And till this day, I am forever grateful to Andrew, the auctioneer, because if it hadn't been for him, I would never have the money to start my first trading account, okay? So what happened was, that was in 2008. I remember in March of 2008 was when I made my first stock trade, right? I was using a broker called Terra Nova at that time. My hands were shaking. I remember buying my first 10 shares of stock, and it was the scariest moment in my life. I had been studying since, for almost 4 years now, seriously and religiously on how to trade stocks. And now I got to buy my first actual shares with real money, and I did it, okay? And I did okay. Okay? And this is where, that's lesson number 3, right there, guys, okay? That's lesson number 3. And the first one is get educated. The second one is, no Uncle Neds. Uncle Neds are basically people that are uneducated about trading and investing, okay? And the third is, do whatever it takes, okay? I was willing to stand there, right? I was willing to stand there on the street corner and ask hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people until I got my $10,000 to start my first trading account, okay? And no matter what people around me, no matter what my stepmom, my sister, my little brother, my co-workers, everybody told me I was stupid and crazy, this is never going to happen, I just stuck to my guns, and I just stuck to it, and I never gave up, okay? I never gave up, okay? Even at that time, my parole officer was telling me I was nuts. She thought I was trying to do something illegal again, and she was just, she was piss testing me every week. She was trying to get me simply because I told her that I wanted to become $1 million trader, right? She just didn't believe that, okay? So that's, the third thing that I did to help me become $1 million trader was that I did whatever it took, okay? During that time, I had no money, and to save money, I was, in my apartment, I had my jeans rolled up as my pillow, I had my blanket, right, was my jacket, and that was it. I lived lean. I didn't, when I came home from work, I would take the cup from the club, and I would take the spoons and the plastic forks, and that was my utensils when I got back to my apartment, my studio apartment, and that was it. I lived very lean. I bought one chicken, one rotisserie chicken, and one loaf of French bread, and I cut that bread up into like 4 sections so I can have 4 meals, and then I cut the chicken up into 4 sections so that I can have 4 servings, okay? And that right there cost me like $5 for the chicken and $1 for the loaf of bread, and that's what I ate for several months, and most people didn't know that during that time. I ate the same chicken and the same bread almost every day for like 6 months so that I can save up some money to do what I needed to do to invest, okay? So are you willing to do whatever it takes, right? I didn't go out, right? Check this out. When I first got out of prison, right, one of the guys that I met when I was asking him for money to trade, I was telling him I was a trader and everything, I remember him asking me, have you gotten laid yet, Ty? Okay? And in case you're outside the U.S., getting laid means that have you had sex with a woman yet since you've been out? Okay? Since you've been out of prison, how long has it been, right? And it was like 6 months since I've been out. And he said, have you had sex with a woman yet? You haven't seen a woman since you were 18 years old. Have you had sex with a woman yet? That's the most important thing. That's what he was trying to put into my head. That was what he was trying to put in my head. And I told him, no, I haven't had sex with anybody since I was 18, right? And I was in my mid-30s at that time. And he said, dude, you worried about stock trading? You worried about trading? We got to go get you laid. We got to get you with a woman, right? And I remember this. He took out his wallet and he pulled out $500 bills. 5 $100 bills. I still remember to this day. We were sitting there at a high top a bar stool, and he pulled out $500 at this restaurant, and he said, I am willing to put up $500 right now to go get you laid tonight. And I looked at him, and with a serious face, I said, hey man, if you really want to help me, I would rather use that $500. I'd rather take that $500 and go and invest it in the stock market. And he took it and he shoved it back in his wallet, and he goes, no. He goes, I'm going to go help get you laid. I want to be the guy that helps you get some poontang for the first time in your life, right? Since you were 18, okay? And I said, I'd rather take that $500 and go invest it in the stock market. And at the end of the day, he did not give me that $500, okay? So my question to you is this. When you say that you want to become a serious trader, when you want to become a multi-million-dollar trader, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing, right, to give up sex, right, and go and do what it takes to become a successful trader? Are you willing to do that? Okay? So that was reason number 3, guys. I was willing to do whatever it took. I was willing to do whatever it takes, okay, to become a successful trader, okay? Are you willing to do that, okay? You might hear me say that I'm a $1 million trader, okay, because I was willing to do what it takes. And I invite you to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes, okay? And if you're not, then maybe you don't deserve to be a $1 million trader, okay? So that was number 3. Number 4, okay, is very simple. Ignore the haters. Ignore the trolls. Ignore all the broke-ass haters that surround you. When I was there trading, learning how to trade, and I just first got out of prison, everybody laughed at me. My stepmom laughed at me. My little sister laughed at me. Okay? My little brother thought I was crazy. All the bouncers and all the co-workers around me thought I was a complete nutcase and a complete idiot, and I was a stupid ass. Okay? When your ass is broke and you're starting out learning how to trade, okay, you are not going to find any supporters. Just know that, right? You are not going to find any supporters from broke-ass people. You are not going to find any supporters, right, from other people who are successful, but they don't trade. The only people that are going to support you when you are starting out as a trader are other traders who are trying to do the same thing. And hopefully you run into a consistently profitable trader that can help you out, okay? So that's reason number 4, is that I was willing to ignore all the haters around me. When somebody was standing there in front of my face and telling me I was a stupid ass and that I was broke and that I just came out of prison and that there's absolutely no way that I can ever succeed as a trader in front of all my coworkers. Now keep in mind, I'm standing there with 8 or 9 of my coworkers standing behind me, around me, listening to one of the trolls and one of these jackasses tell me. See, what he was trying to do was that troll was trying to put in my head why I should be broke like him, okay? And I refused to listen to that. I refused to listen to that, okay? And I would not allow it, okay? I was not going to survive 14 years of prison, right, being around a bunch of Crips, a bunch of gangbangers, around a bunch of, crazy-ass MS-13 gang members, around a bunch of, all these criminals and all these hard, violent people, and then come out and let a jackass tell me that I can't live out my dreams, okay? So I did not do that. And most people cannot do that. Most people cannot do that. Most people cannot emotionally handle it when somebody is telling them that they're a stupid ass, they're crazy, they'll never happen, they'll never succeed. Most people just, okay, if you tell me I can't succeed as a trader, then okay, I guess I can't, right? If you're willing to quit and give up like that, and you're not willing to do whatever it takes, then in my opinion, you just don't deserve to be a $1 million trader. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin or crypto or stocks or gold or silver or oil or wheat or corn. It doesn't matter. You just don't deserve it because you're too weak to be a trader. Okay, so ignore the haters, ignore the trolls, ignore the jackasses that are never going to help you become successful in trading, okay? Now here's reason number 5, right? Staying committed. Reason number 5 is stay committed despite the losses, okay? When I first got into trading, right, when I was with Andrew right? Hey guys, keep it quiet, right? When I was with Andrew, I was using his money. I was scared shitless. I was so scared that I would lose that money and never ever have a chance to trade again. That $10,000 I guarded with my life, okay? I guarded it with my life. I traded the correct position size. I traded the correct bet size. I never deviated once from my trade plan, okay? Not once, okay? I had a plan that I was going to trade 10 shares, and when I was profitable for 3 weeks in a row, and I had to be profitable 4 out of 5 days. I had to show green on the screen 4 out of 5 days, okay, before I go to the next level. And then I did that. It took me like a month to be consistently profitable for 3 weeks straight, okay? And then from there, I jumped up to trading 20 shares, okay? And I traded 20 shares, and I did the same thing. I had to prove to myself that I could be profitable trading 20 shares before I go any bigger. So I traded 20 shares, and I said, if I cannot get this to be profitable for 3 weeks in a row, then I'm not going to go any further. And it took me a month to do that. Okay? It took me a month to be consistently profitable and green on the screen with real money in the live markets, right, for 3 out of 4 weeks. And then after that, I jumped up to 50 shares, and then so on. When I got to 100 shares of stocks, I said, you know what? I need to be profitable, for 3 out of 4 weeks and do that for 3 months in a row. Okay? And so that was not an accident. I had to prove to myself. So when I was trading Andrew the auctioneer's money, I was so scared that if I lose that $10,000 or become unprofitable, that I would never have a chance to trade again. So I did everything. I did not deviate, and there was times when I wanted to do something different in my trading, or there was opportunities I wanted to jump on, but it didn't fit my trading plan, because part of the agreement that I had with Andrew was I wrote down everything that I was going to do, and that at any time he can, renege or break the contract, the agreement that he and I had. It was a legal binding agreement too, that he could sue me if I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do to protect his money. Okay, so this is not something that was light. It was a 2-year agreement, and during that 2 years, I was not going to break any of these trading rules that we agreed to, that I signed off in the agreement, that for me to borrow that $10,000 from him. Okay, and so after I returned that money, it was so stressful trading that money for him that the agreement was that I was either going to buy him out. There was 2 ways that I can get out of that agreement with him. Okay, was that either we make profits and we split the profits 50-50, right? Or if there was any point that I wanted to buy him out and just say, hey man, I don't want to do this no more, then I had to pay him 25% profit. That no matter what happens, he was going to get 25% return on his money by loaning it to me, okay? And I had a 2-year period to do it, and on his part, he had to put up the $10,000, and he could not take the money back before 2 years, as long as I did everything that I said I was going to do in the agreement. So I was really scared. I was really, really scared. That was the most stressful time of my life in my trading career, because I was so afraid that he was going to take that money back, that I was going to break one of the rules in the agreement that he and I had, and that he was going to take that money back, all right? And then I would not have an opportunity to trade, okay? So I did everything. Now, after about a year and something, almost 2 years was up, right? Things had changed in my life, and so I paid him what I owed him in the agreement, according to our agreement, and because I wanted to go and trade my own money, okay? And what happened was, when I started trading my own money, it was my money now. I didn't have to be responsible to anybody. I didn't have to worry about it, okay? And so what I did was I did a bunch of stupid things, right? I did a bunch of stupid things, and when I stopped trading Andrew's money, I started trading my own money. Within just a few months, I lost my entire account. I remember, I think I started with like I blew up my whole account. And when I say blow up my account, it means I lost everything it got so low to the point where I couldn't trade my regular strategies anymore, right? And so I was so messed up. I spent the next few months, not trading anything, looking through my trade logs, studying everything I could to see I could have done different. And what I did was that I took that and I saved up some money and I reloaded my trading account and I did it again, right? I went this time, I said, hey, I'm not going to break these rules. I do whatever I can. I'm not going to let these big losses get into my trading again and blow up my account and lose my entire account again. And I did it again. And this time I lasted like twice as long. But you know what? I ended up losing my entire account again, simply because I could not stick to my rules. I keep letting big losses get into my trading, and it was just one or two big losses and boom, it would destroy my entire account, right? Because I kept holding on to this thinking, oh, this is going to come back, this is going to come back, this is going to come back. The problem is the market keeps falling farther than the money I had in my account. So this cycle where I would, quit trading for several months, reload my account, and then go back and trade again, and within several months I would lose it, and then reload my account. This happened like at least half a dozen times. Okay, now, so the reason here, okay, is that I stayed committed. You might say that, hey Ty, you're a freaking idiot. You lost your first account, you went back and reloaded it and lost your second account. You went back and reloaded and you lost your third account. You went back and reloaded it and lost your fourth account, your fifth account, your sixth account. What are you, an idiot? Are you stupid, or are you just stupid, right? And the answer is no, I'm not stupid. The answer is that I was uneducated about what to do to become a profitable trader. Okay, I was uneducated, but I stayed committed. That's reason number 5, guys. Reason number 5 is that I stayed committed to my path, and I did not let the losses destroy me. I knew that those losses were temporary. I knew someday I'm going to make all that money back in 1 hour. Someday I'm going to make all that money back in 1 day. One of these days I'm going to make all that losses back in 1 week or 1 month or 1 year. I did not care. I just knew that once I figured this stuff out, I was going to make it big no matter what anyone said or did. Okay? So that number 5 is reason number 5 is that I stayed committed despite all my losses. Okay? Not only did I lose money, I lost sleep, I lost, hair. I remember I was going through some, by the time I lost my third account, every time in the morning when I went to comb my hair or scratch my head, I would have literally patches of my hair fall out. Okay? That's why you don't ever see any good traders with a full, thick head of hair. I'm not joking about that. If you see any multi-million-dollar traders that have a thick head of hair, right, they're full of shit. They have never been through the stress of trading. There is no multi-million-dollar trader I have ever met in my life that has a full, thick head of hair. Okay, that's one of the downsides to becoming a successful trader. Okay, so that right there, if I look at somebody's hair and it's thick and full and luscious and everything, they're not real traders. They're just fake-ass traders, okay? Real traders, you go into any institutions like Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, any of these places, and you meet the big multi-million-dollar traders, none of them, especially if they're white, most of them are all bald and shit, okay? So, and not because they're old, it's just because the stress of trading multi-million-dollar positions is very stressful, okay? So, and keep in mind, guys, when I say it's stressful, it's because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, okay? Now that I know what I'm doing, the stress, even though I trade much bigger sizes now in a bigger portfolio than I ever did in the past, the stress is 1,000 times a lot less because now I know what I'm doing, okay? Back then I didn't know, okay? So here you go, guys. Reason number 6 was the reason why I never quit and I never gave up, right? And I stayed committed to becoming a successful trader. Reason number 6 was that I was to study the science of trading. Okay? Most people, they talk about trading, they trade, they even make money from trading, they lose money from trading, but they actually don't understand the science of how trading works. And let me explain to you what that means, okay? If you take like an engineer, a mechanical engineer, a chemical engineer, or electrical engineer, anybody like that, right? They all understand how, the physics of how electrons work, how the atom works, how a proton works, how an electron moves, how gravity works, how motion works, right? They understand the fundamentals, the physics, the science of how matter and energy and nature work, okay? You might have the electrical engineer might go off and study electrical engineering. The mechanical engineer might go off and study mechanical engineering. The chemical engineer might go off and study chemical engineering. But the common denominator among all these different engineers, right, are that they all understand how atoms work, how electrons work, how gravity works, how force and motion and all those things work, right? They all understand it. They just chose to use that physics, the science of it, to go of the physics and science of motion and matter and things like that, and they go pursue it in electrical engineering or mechanical engineering or chemical engineering, but they all have the similar foundation that makes them understand those other specialized arenas of engineering, okay? In trading, there is a science to trading. There's a science to how that allows you to lose more times than you win, but still become profitable. There is a science behind that. Okay? And most traders do not take the time to study the science of trading. They just go and, oh, I got to look at charts, I do technical analysis and all this other stuff, which I'm not saying is not necessary, but they're the smallest components of trading. You don't see how, imagine trying to build the tallest building in the world, but you have no concept of how gravity works, no concept of how, matter, energy, and all these things work to build that building. You're never going to be able to build the tallest building in the world if you don't understand the basics of physics, okay? In trading, there are fundamental sciences of trading. There's fundamental math, there's fundamental sciences that you need to understand in order to trade. And I was studying that. I was doing research on it. The reason why I consider myself a trading scientist is because I actually tested something. If somebody told me something, I would test it, this version against this version, this strategy against this strategy. I would record that, and then I would compare the results to see if it was true. So if someone told me, hey, this strategy works better than this strategy, I would go and test it. I would not sit there and just take it for granted that they must know what they're doing, or because they're white, they're right, or because they have more money than I do, or because they're driving a Ferrari, that they must know what they're doing. It doesn't matter. I would test that strategy and that concept and go and do it, right? I might have failed high school, I might have dropped out of